Hi everyone. Part of your resume. Hi everyone. Welcome to today's live session. Hi Aditayo. Is that Aditayo? Hi everyone. How are we doing? How has your day been? How has the week been? Hi Aditayo. Hi Precious. Welcome to today's Instagram live. I just pinned the title for today's topic, or the title for today's live session. It's what's the most important part of your resume. So welcome. You're going to be starting shortly, but tell me, how has your week been? How did your week go? Type it in the comments. My week was really good. I think this week was pretty chill, not too busy, and I'm excited for the weekend. Thank God it's Friday. How has your week been too? Hi Olatokumbo, welcome to today's Instagram live session. So the reason why I decided to have this topic was, I think sometime last week or 2 weeks ago, I posted about, busy and productive. Nice. Good that it has been busy and productive. Sometime last 2 weeks, I posted about a resume, like what's the most important part of your resume, and I got lots of comments, and this prompted me to teach this session today. I decided that it was going to be impactful. Instead of making it just as another reel, I will come on live and just walk through the key parts of a resume, especially if you're in the process of getting a job for yourself. So welcome. If during the session when I'm talking, feel free to drop your questions if you have in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. So the topic is, what's the most important part of your resume? Is it the skills section? Is it the experience section? Or is it the education section? So just type in the comments, what do you think is the most important part of your resume before we get into today's session? What do you think right now is the most important part of your resume? Let me know. Let's see. All right. Anyone type in, what's the most important part of your resume? What part of the resume do you think recruiters are interested in seeing the most? Is it your skills section? Is it the education section? Or is it the work experience section? So Adetayo says the skills section. Okay, that's interesting. Skills is definitely an important part of your resume. It's definitely an important part of your resume. Okay, so let's get started. So resume, I think all of us are used to a resume, or people mistake resume for a CV. They are quite different, but they're also similar. But today we'll focus on what a resume really is. So I have a resume here, and I'm going to be referencing it throughout the class. So this resume template is for my Get a Job Toolkit, and yeah, we're going to be using it to reference during this session. So a resume is really a document that presents you to a potential employer. That's like the first point of contact that an employer would have before they'll call you for an interview. But a lot of times I think many people do not really realize the purpose of a resume. For me, I think a resume serves 3 different purposes. A resume is supposed to market you or showcase your skills or your qualification for a job. So whenever there's a job opening, a lot of times there are job requirements, there are the skills, there are the things that employers are looking for in that candidate they will hire. So your resume is really just presenting you and marketing you to that, the recruiter or the hiring manager, telling them that you have the skills. So that's the first thing. Your resume is supposed to market you and show your qualifications. That's the first purpose of a resume. So if you can just type it in, purpose of your resume, and so that other people can follow as well. So the first purpose of your resume is to market you and showcase your skills to a potential employer. The second purpose of your resume is to make a strong first impression. I mentioned that it's the first point of contact between you and a potential employer. So that's why a lot of times, if your resume is poorly formatted or it has grammatical errors, all of this doesn't paint you in the best light. It doesn't present you as the ideal candidate, and it doesn't make a first impression on whoever is hiring. A lot of times people can get so many things from just first impressions. I always say first impressions matter a whole lot. So your resume is supposed to make that strong first impression to a potential employer. And finally, the most important part of your resume is the most important purpose of your resume rather is to land you an interview. So your resume doesn't automatically land you a job. A lot of times people think once they submit a resume, instantly they'll get called for a job, but in reality, when you submit a resume, you're actually going to be called. If your resume is good enough, you're actually going to be called for an interview. And I have to say, your resume is not the only thing that qualifies you to be called for an interview, but it's like one of the crucial parts of qualifying you to, come for an interview. So those are the three purposes of a resume. Thank you, Ola Tokumbo, for putting it. The first one is to market you and showcase your skills to a potential employer. The second is to create a strong first impression in the minds of a potential employer. And the final purpose of your resume is to land you a job interview. So I asked earlier, what's the most important part of your resume? I think Adetayo mentioned that the most important part of your resume is your skills section. So we're going to be diving into the different parts. There are so many parts of your resume. You have, the contact information. So I have a sample resume here to make things practical. Obviously, you won't have your name on your resume. You won't have your contact details. This is a career profile. But we are going to focus for the purpose of today's class on the work experience section, which is this, the education section, and the skills section. So those are the three sections we're going to be focusing on today. So let's start with the experience section. The work experience section. So your work experience section, I would say, is like the heart of your resume, right? It's the part that showcases what you've done in real world, in real life situations, what you've done. Most of the times your work experience will always have the job title, what you worked at, your role, the job title, the employer who employed you. You also have the dates that you worked, if it's from January 2023 to June 2024, your resume should always have those details. So you want to be as detailed as possible in your work experience section. So you should have the dates. You also want to have the achievements, the job, the duties. And I say achievement because when you're listing your work experience section, you don't just want to list it as duties that you carried out. You want to list it as the impact that you had on that role that you worked. So it has to be, it has to show the achievements and the impacts that you had on that role. And that's why a lot of times when you're writing your resume, people will tell you to use numbers, use figures as much as possible, because this is what would really help quantify the impacts that you had on that role. And also your work experience section should also highlight the skills that you possess as a person. So for whatever industry at all, these are the things that your work experience section should do. So a lot of times employers and hiring managers are very interested in your work experience section because a lot of times people can just say, I'm good at Photoshop, I'm good at using a particular tech stack, I'm good at React, I'm good at JavaScript. But really, how can we quantify that you're really good at what you say you can do? This is where your work experience comes in, because it gives them a real life perspective as to what you really can do or what you've done in the past. And this is why many employers are very particular about your work experience section. If you're going for an entry level role, or you're a new graduate and you haven't really worked at any place prior, then I can understand if you don't have a work experience section. But if you worked previously, then you really want to double down on writing your work experience section in a way that showcases your impact and what you brought, the value you brought in that previous role. So thank you everyone for joining. So things that employers look for in your work experience section: look for the skills that you've demonstrated in the past. So these are the things they look for, and these are the things that your work experience section should highlight: the skills that you have and how you've demonstrated those skills. Teamwork and collaboration, because when you're being employed, you will not just work on your own. You will not just be a lone ranger, right? You will likely be in a team. You'll be working with different people. So your work experience section should highlight how you adequately collaborated in a team. And you should also talk about your work ethic, right? A lot of times people just write soft skills. I can communicate well, I have problem solving skills, but how can we really quantify that you have those skills? This is what your work experience section does. It helps, highlight the value that you bring in real terms to a company. So that's all about the work experience section. We'll be coming into the practicality of the class shortly, but I want to walk through the different parts of your resume so you have a good understanding when we start the practical parts. So now let's talk about the skills, which is what a lot of people picked as the most important part of the resume. So your skills section is very crucial to include it on your resume, because a lot of times when you apply for a job, what really happens is many companies use this ATS system, which is like application tracking system. So when a job is rolled out, or there's an opening for a job, the application tracking system already has been set to detect the skills that when you submit your resume, so it can detect these skills and can automatically scan and fish out resumes that have these particular skills that are needed on a role. So if your resume doesn't have the skills and it's an application tracking system that it has passed through, a lot of times it will fall through the cracks. So before a human being can even come through, the application tracking system has vetted the CVs or the resumes and has put out the resumes that it feels like passes to the resumes that it feels like passes, and a recruiter then picks up the resume, reads it, and forwards your resume to the hiring manager, because it's not the recruiter that is hiring you, it's the hiring manager. The recruiter is just to fish out good candidates and send them to the hiring manager. So if your resume doesn't have the skills that are needed on the role, it will likely not pass the application tracking system. So that's why I would say your skill section is very important to include on your resume. So I would like to pause here and just interact and get feedback from you. Also tell me, what job are you currently applying for? If you're applying, or if you're in the job search process, what job are you currently applying for, and what skills do you think are needed on that job? You can just put, for example, if you're a product designer, the skills needed on the job, you may need user experience design. That's a skill needed for a product design role. So tell me the job you are looking to apply for, or the job you've been applying for, and the skill that you think is required on that role. So put it in the comments, let me see. And if you have any questions, feel free to also drop any questions you have in the comments, and I'll answer it as I go on. Yeah. So drop your skills and drop the job you're applying for and the skills you think are relevant on that role. All right, so let's move over to the education section. So your education section, I think, is just like an important thing. It's good for your potential employers to know that you've had a formal education or education of some sort on the role. But as much as it's important, it's not the key. Like, no one is going to say because you graduated from Unilag or any prestigious university, they are going to hire you. It's a good to have, but it's not a key determining factor to make you get hired on that role, except you are a graduate and you're a recent graduate and this is your first job. Then definitely your education section is something you want to really double down and highlight. But if you're not a recent graduate, it's good to put it on your resume, but it's not the most important part of your resume, because employers want to see tangible results that you've gotten from whatever experience or whatever education you've had in the past. So now we've talked about the different sections for today of a resume. We've talked about the work experience section, we've talked about the skills section, and we've talked about the education section. So I'm gonna share my screen and just tap through this. I think it's a bit big, but this is the same thing I have here, and it's just to help you see visually what I have in here so that you can follow along. So we're going to be talking about the work experience section, because for me, I see it as the heart. I see it as the most important part of your resume, because it helps to qualify the tangible results that your skills have been applied to. So your skills are good, but your work experience section is what really makes your skills come alive. So I remember I hire a lot on Upwork. Let me just share this. I hire a lot on Upwork, and for my podcast. So my podcast is coming out. The new season of my podcast is coming out on the 1st of November. I'm very excited. So I wanted to work with a video editor, and I made a job post and I got lots of proposals for that particular gig, and a lot of people were qualified. So I'm just trying to paint a scenario as to why work experience section is a lot more important than your skill section, because I got like 15 different people that said that they were interested in working with me, and they had so many skills: Adobe Photoshop or Adobe XD, Adobe Premiere Pro. They were very good at video editing. But the thing is, many of these people have the skills, but not all of them had the real life experience. And then I hired someone that had not had any previous work experience on Upwork, and then this person did not give me what I wanted. And as much as that person had a skill, because he had not done that kind of job, he just felt like he had video editing skills. He didn't really give me what I wanted, and I couldn't continue working with him. And that's the same way skills are. Skills are just like talk is cheap. Anyone can say they can do what they can do, but if they don't have the real life experience, the work experience, you cannot really quantify it. And that's the same way hiring managers and recruiters see your work experience section. You can really say you can do so many things, and if your work experience doesn't adequately reflect what you can do, many times you will not get called for that interview. So let's look at this resume I have here. This is a resume of a product manager, and we're just going to walk through how the work experience section highlights the value that they provided on their past jobs. So let's look at the first one, senior product manager at Tech Innovator. So this is a very, it's not a real person, it's just something I put together. So let's look at the first job role or work experience. This person says, led the development and launch of a new SaaS platform, increasing annual revenue by 35% within the first year. So this work experience demonstrates the real world impact that the Sarah Clark had as a product manager. So to further emphasize what I've been talking about, skills and education are important, but your work experience, this work experience that they mentioned, especially because they've been able to quantify it with figures, percentages, it helps them, it helps a potential employer see the impact that you made in your past role, so that they can foresee and, they'll feel like if you've made that kind of impact in your past role, you can definitely do the same thing on the role they're employing or hiring you for. So in this case, the candidate Sarah Clark has been able to increase the revenue by 35%, and this means that they've been able to adequately demonstrate the skills they have as a product manager. Employers want people that can perform on the role, so 35% is a huge, it's a huge progress. So definitely this is a real life work experience that employers are looking to see on your resume. So let's take another example. This one says, manage a team of 5 product managers, providing mentorship and guidance to drive product excellence. Another says, collaborated with engineering, marketing, and sales team to define product roadmaps. So this work experience highlights, one, leadership. It also highlights teamwork. So here's the thing. When you're looking to get a job, you're not just looking to get a job to fill any role. You're looking to get a job to create impact on that role. Employers, people are looking to hire people that can create value on the role. So you're not just a placeholder. You're not just someone that is just coming to occupy space on whatever role you're applying for or you're looking to get. You're coming to make real impact, and this is where teamwork also plays a part. Employers want people that can adequately work in a team and collaborate efficiently. And even if you put team, on your soft skills, you put that you are a team player. How do we know you're a team player? You cannot just put you're a team player and they call you for an interview. You need to demonstrate how you've been a team player. And this person says that they manage a team of 5 product managers. They also collaborated with engineering and marketing and sales team to define roadmaps. So this is how your skills can translate into measurable achievements that you've had in your past or previous work. And the final one we want to look at is how your work experience validates the soft skills that you say that you possess. So this is the third one that says supported the creation of go-to-market strategies, including product positioning, messaging, and sales enablement materials. So this work experience validates the soft skills that this Sarah Clark has as a product manager. So on your resume, it's possible you list, problem solving skills. You know all those, like say, cliche soft skills that a lot of people list. Not like it's bad, but if you list them without necessarily backing it up with a work experience or the value that you've created on your role, it's just empty talk. Anyone can see anything, and it will not guarantee you to be called for an interview. But this particular work experience description tells a potential employer how Sarah has been able to develop strategies, how Sarah has been able to communicate effectively with different teams, and how Sarah demonstrates strategic thinking. Because at the end of the day, soft skills are not, I would say, hard skills are important, but soft skills are really much more important on a job, because anyone can have hard skills, right, which are the technical skills, but the soft skills are what really gets you a job. And if you can adequately use your work experience to demonstrate the soft skills, use numbers and figures to quantify the impact that you've had on a particular role, then it increases your chances of getting called for an interview. So if you have questions about resumes, job search, or anything, feel free to drop it in the comments. We're gradually getting to the end of this live session. I don't want it to be more than a 30 minutes video or session. So hi everyone, thanks for joining today's class. Let me know if you have any questions. Drop your questions you have in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. So to wrap up, let's see. I've said so many things. I've talked about the work experience section and how it's like the most important part of your resume, because it qualifies the value that you can bring to any role. Mami Akosua, I hope I didn't spoil your name. Thank you. You said thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad that you enjoyed the session. So to summarize everything that we learned today. So here are some tips that would help you determine how to properly order the sections on your resume. If you have a lot of work experience, I would say you should put your work experience section immediately after, your details, just like this. See how your work experience section comes? I don't know if you can see it. So if you have lots of work experience, then your work experience section should definitely come first after all your personal details and your contact details. But if you have little to no work experience, maybe you're a recent graduate, or maybe you're just looking for your first job, then it makes sense for your education to come first. And if you also do not have much work experience, maybe you've worked at just one place, then you could definitely put your skill first. At the end of the day, there's no one size approach to writing a resume. It really depends on where you are in your journey, the company you're applying for, or the role you're applying for. But a lot of the times, if you have work experience and you're able to write your work experience in a way that demonstrates or showcases the impact or the value you've had in past roles, it definitely increases your chances of being called for an interview. So that's about it. You're welcome. I'm glad that this session was very informative and helpful. If you like to also get resume templates, I have it on my Get a Job Toolkit. This is one template from the Get a Job Toolkit. There are like 2 other templates as well as cover letter templates, everything you need for your job search. Click the link in my bio to get it. There should be an ideal number of experience. So this is a question from JC. Let's see. There should be an ideal number of experience to be on a resume in order for the employer not to think you always get off a job quick. How many do you think is ideal? So that's a very good question. For me, I would say the first step, I won't say, any number, but the first step is to ensure that any work experience you are listing on your resume is relevant to the role you're applying for. So let me give an example. This is a product manager resume, but what if this person had maybe a teaching experience? Maybe person was a teacher in the past and worked at 2 different places. Then I wouldn't say you should put that teaching experience on your resume because it's not directly relevant to that role. So I would say, for a rule of thumb, I generally put 3 to 4, depending on how relevant it is for that job I'm applying for. So 3 to 4 is a very good number to stick with because it helps to tell an employer that you've really been, you're not a newbie on the job. You've had a good number of work experience, and they can look through the details of the experience and the details of what you did on that role, and it gives them a good idea of what you can bring to the table. So I hope that answers your question, JC. Do you have any other questions? Any other questions about resume writing? I think a lot of times people are also wondering if your resume should be 1 page or your resume should be 2 pages. I would say for your resume, in terms of whether it should be 1 page or 2 pages, it really depends on your work experience. If you've had like 10 years of experience and you have maybe 4 work experience in the past that are relevant to the job that you're looking to apply for, then I wouldn't say you should restrict your whole resume to 1 page because there's almost no way a page can go in, right? So for me, I would say 2 pages is ideal for someone that has a good number of work experiences. 2 pages is ideal. But if you're just starting off your career and maybe you've had only 1 experience, that's fine. You're probably going for an entry-level job, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you want to ensure that your resume is not a list of all the jobs that you've applied for. It's been tailored to the particular job that you're applying for. So your resume is not a list of all the jobs you've had in the past. Rather, it's just a marketing tool that helps you present yourself for a role that you're looking to get. Exactly. So Olatokunbo says list work experiences that are relevant to that role. Exactly. So that's how to write your resume. You want to list the work experiences that are relevant to that role that you're applying for. Yep, that's it. All right, any other questions before we wrap up today's section? And if you enjoyed this video, when I share it on my page, feel free to share it on your stories and share it to anyone that you think would find value in the video as well. Yeah, and if you also would like me to cover any topics, let me know in the comments, because this is what will help me know the kind of live videos I should do. If you would like me to cover any particular topics, drop it in the comments and I would know and do my best to come on live to cover any particular topics or concepts that you want me to. All right, I don't think I see any other questions. I'm gonna be ending the live video. Thank you to everyone for joining today's video. I hope it was very helpful. I made sure I tried to not go past 30 minutes, and this 31 minutes already. So yeah, you're welcome, Latokumbo. Thanks for coming and sticking to the end of this live video. And yeah, enjoy your weekend and have a nice weekend. Bye, everyone.